Hello again. I know we've got a bit of a winter theme going on, but this is fairly applicable to all times of year. What we're trying to do is spot habits and spot trends that can lead to, well, chronic fatigue is the example that we're using, but it could be used for things like motivation. If you lack motivation, you can look for various warning signs that show that you're drifting off track and you need to get back on track. Or it can be used to look at nutritional habits. If you're under-fueling, the signs that show that you're under-fueling, things that you're drifting off track. One of the athletes that I've worked with, she does suffer from a tendency to not eat enough. She knows that, and we've worked quite hard to find out the triggers that cause that. But I also know that a lot of you that watch these videos can suffer from fatigue problems. So before we dive into the detail, what we're looking to do is have a sustainable training pattern, and that might be, if you're looking at your winter training and trying to build up volume, a sustainable pattern over the winter, which is progressive and effective. Some early warning systems for potential issues that might be arising that might let you drift off track. Some clear actions to perform if these things happen, and building long-term positive habits. So if we're using fatigue as an example, we might look at training load, lifestyle integration, energy management as the broad topics. And then within those topics, I'll just read from a list here. Such a training response, you might have sessions feeling harder than they should do, recovery seems insufficient, performance becomes unpredictable. And these are signs that you might be experiencing, and these might be the things that you need to look for in your traffic light system. We have a traffic light system. Energy management, your nutrition gets disrupted, you don't eat properly, you don't recover, you don't have good nutrition after training sessions, or your nutritional routine gets knocked off because of work commitments. Perhaps if you're travelling through work, and that can throw out your nutrition, you might not sleep as well, your lifestyle gets affected, and therefore you don't recover as well. And these factors compound together, they all interact and work against each other. So if you get if you get all your ducks in line, you can, your training progresses and you get fitter and you can build your training volume. If one thing gets disrupted, it can disrupt another thing. It's like a lot of physiological systems, a lot of human systems. If one thing goes wrong, it makes it more difficult to sustain the other good things, and therefore the other things can start going wrong. And then before you know it, you're in this downward spiral of increasing fatigue, increasing stress levels, and failing adaptation. And then you have to take steps to get back on track. But if we have a systematic approach, it's easier to spot the early warning signs and therefore get back on track much more quickly and effectively, because you're basically practicing good habits of getting back on track, spotting things drifting a little bit and then gently pushing them back on track, a bit like the mindfulness. So we've created this traffic light system. So you get a green zone where you're building fitness, a yellow zone where things are starting to drift off track, and you can recover fairly easily, hopefully, and then a red zone where things are getting quite serious. You really need to sort of back off and take positive action. And I spent some time, quite a lot of time actually, messing about trying to produce an app, because I thought, or a spreadsheet. So I thought, well, a spreadsheet or an app would probably be good, because we always like to quantify things, particularly. I know a lot of you like to have numbers to work with, but often it's the subjective metrics that are most important. And I actually created this framework based on subjective metrics in my journal to get a feel for where things drifted, typically for me, and that's how I came up with this example and this method. And my current thinking is that the best way to do it is to sort of take a view of the overall. So you might say, well, what in terms of work life, am I in the green, yellow, or red? In the training, am I in the green, yellow, or red? Or in well-being, am I in green, yellow, or red? And then you can take an overall view of whether your overall, what zone you're in and what things need to be addressed. Rather than trying to put numbers on everything, it's better to have a decision framework, which this gives, and then pick the respective positions in that framework to give you a view of where you are and what you might need to do. And then at the bottom we've got these sort of action plans, but obviously these action plans would be specific for each athlete that we would be working with. So if we were to work with us one-to-one, which obviously we'd love to do, then we would help you set up this framework and the action plans for how to deal with whatever, particularly if you're in the yellow zone, what to do, if you're in the red zone, what to do. And in that way, you'll be able to train much more consistently and build fitness more effectively. And if you've had cycles of chronic fatigue or nutrition problems, or you've got specific nutrition goals, or you've got certain lifestyle or stress goals or motivational goals, then we can adapt this framework based on a journal, based on your training, based on your subjective responses over time, to create this traffic light system and gradually improve it so that it works more and more effectively. And this process is described quite well on our website in our specialised support page, which you can find in the coaching drop-down menu. So once you've identified the traffic light, the zones for well-being, work life, and training load, recovery, sleep, all these other factors, then obviously you need some sort of monitoring system. So you would monitor how you're feeling throughout the day and have a check-in. What I recommend really is having a daily check-in and a daily journal, which you can do in your training diary, or you can do in a separate journal. Claire and I have a separate journal that we use. Some people just make comments in Training Peaks, and we can dump out all those comments into an AI tool, and then we use that AI tool based on our experience to come up with this early warning system. So you need the daily check-in, because then you can track progress, and then you have a weekly review and a monthly review, and we address the monthly review in our meetings, or if you're on a premium plan, a weekly meeting, or just check in by email. So you'd have your check-in, you'd have an assessment, either daily, weekly or monthly, or all three probably, just to keep initially daily, and then after things start to be working well, then it's best to just back off a bit, because it can become quite overwhelming if you're trying to react to things on a daily basis. It's better to just focus on getting the work done, being consistent, putting the time in. You don't have to be training perfectly. Everything doesn't have to be perfect. It just has to be, pretty good. Check in weekly. Once things are working really well, just check in monthly. And then your fitness develops. And of course the action plan evolves, everything evolves over time. So if you want to do this for yourself, or you want to do it with those who want to help you, the approach would be the same. You're looking to identify what your primary challenges are. And sort of look where the 90% is, where you can make the big improvements. And then you're looking for patterns that cause these challenges. When do these challenges arise? And this AI approach is quite good, because we've now got modern AI tools can crunch a lot of information at once. But if you look at some of the previous videos, we look at seasonal reviews, so you could do a seasonal review, look when your good points and when your bad points are, and that would be another way of identifying trends and cycles in your training and your fitness and your progress, and when things are going well and when things are going badly, and whether that coincides with the winter or the summer. Some people perform well in the winter, some people don't perform well in the summer. And also, like I said in the last video, things can happen when things changes. Like if you go on a training camp, that can often be a trigger to a negative cycle, because the training camp goes really well, you get a lot of training done, you come back, you're quite tired, you need to have a break, you're out of your routine, and then you can't be bothered. Motivation often has a dip after a training camp. When the clocks change, your routine gets knocked out, your eating patterns can go a bit different, your sleep pattern gets influenced. So maybe it's a good time to take an easy week when the clocks change, when the clocks go forward or the clocks go back. And you might be able to spot these trends in your overall, if you look at the performance management chart in Training Peaks, you look at it year on year. You can, if you've got a premium subscription, you can create a chart for each year, and you can put one above the other, and then you can make an assessment, see whether the same thing happens each year. And if the same thing happens each year, then you can look at why it happens. And you can identify what metrics matter most to you. Is it your chronic training load? Is it the amount of calories, your energy balance in terms of your food intake? Is it your motivation, some subjective metrics that you use? And then you can track those metrics, and you can use those metrics to create your traffic light system. Because your traffic light system isn't going to be the same as my traffic light system, or your training partner's traffic light system, or Matthew van der Poel's traffic light system, or James Hayden's traffic light system, or whoever it might be. Jenny Graham's traffic light system would be totally different probably to your traffic light system. So you're trying to create your own traffic light system so that you can get your own early warning signs and make your training individual to you. And then you have your check-in system, work out whether you're in green, yellow or red, and then an action system. Do you need to take any action? If you're in the green action, just keep doing what you're doing. If you're in yellow, then it's probably a good time to take some action and try and get back into the green. Or why are you in yellow? Is it expected if you've had a really hard training block or something like that? And if you're in the red, you need to sort it out pretty quickly, otherwise you're going to get worse and worse. So in summary, you're looking for the most important factors for you, create some early warning signs so that you can react early to when things just start to drift using objective guidelines, which might be subjective metrics, ironically, and then you can get back on track and maintain a much more consistent training process. Your fitness will develop more consistently and progressively climbing rather than having the ups and downs like a lot of us experience. And if you want a bit more detail of how it works, just get in touch or have a look on our website. And I'll see you in the next video. Bye.